Hello, in this webinar, we'll cover the differences between SOC2 and HITRUST E1 and I1 assessments and what to consider when deciding which framework is right for your organization. Before we get started, I'll take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Chris Collins, and I'm a senior manager with LBMC. I work in our IT assurance practice and primarily work in our HITRUST and SOC service lines. I have over 14 years experience performing various types of internal and external audits for organizations of all sizes, from small startups to international Fortune 300 corporations. We'll start with a bit of history and information on SOC reporting. In 1992, SAS 70 was introduced by the AICPA. It was the accepted standard for auditing IT service organizations. Over time, the use of the SAS 70 went beyond the original intent, which presented the need to replace the standard, and SSAE 16, synonymous with SOC 1, was introduced. As a result, in 2011, SOC 1 replaced the SAS 70, and SOC 2 was created to address the need to assess service organization security using the trust services criteria. The SOC 2 is a criteria-based reporting framework meant for a broad range of service organizations, as it allows flexibility in meeting the requirements set forth in the criteria. There are two types of SOC 2 reports: a type 1, which reports on the design of controls in place at a point in time, and a type 2, which covers a period of time, typically 12 months, and reports on the design and operating effectiveness of controls over the period of time. As previously mentioned, SOC 2 leverages the trust services criteria established by the AICPA to evaluate and report on design and effectiveness of controls. Security, also referenced as the common criteria, is required for all SOC 2 assessments. Service organizations may elect to include the optional criteria of availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy. HITRUST is an organization founded in 2007 focused on security, privacy, and risk management. HITRUST developed the Common Security Framework, or CSF, which is a certifiable framework that enables organizations to demonstrate their security and compliance in a consistent manner. HITRUST's original focus was towards healthcare-related organizations. That focus has broadened toward an industry-agnostic approach. The CSF has been referred to as a framework of frameworks. The CSF was initially built on ISO 27000 and has evolved over time through continuous development and improvement to include over 40 regulatory and compliance standards. HITRUST currently has 3 assessment certifications. The E1 and I1 one-year validated assessments may be leveraged as a stepping stones to the next level of HITRUST certification or as a destination certification for organizations that do not require the added level of assurance. The traditional R2 two-year validated assessment is very comprehensive, which does not lend itself to comparison with the SOC 2. A SOC 2 audit must be performed by a licensed CPA firm, and the attestation report will be issued by the firm at the conclusion of the audit. The HITRUST assessments are performed by HITRUST approved external assessors. The final validated assessment report will be issued by HITRUST. The main argument for SOC 2 is the flexibility in selecting criteria that meets the needs of the organization and meeting the criteria using controls defined by the service organization. While the argument against SOC 2 is that not all CPA firms are created equal, and some just do not have the security expertise to be auditing or issuing SOC 2 reports. This, combined with the flexibility of control selection, can lead to reports that do not meet the needs of the readers. The main argument for HITRUST is a well-defined set of requirements from a security-centric organization, which are based on a wide variety of commonly accepted security frameworks. Every HITRUST E1 assessment will include the same 44 control requirements, and every I1 assessment will include the same 182 control requirements. Also, every HITRUST assessment is quality reviewed by HITRUST, who also issues each assessment report. The argument against HITRUST E1 or I1 is the lack of flexibility of the control requirements for the assessed organization. Also, assessed organizations have to partner directly with the external assessor and HITRUST, which may lead to higher relative costs. So what should service organizations consider when choosing between SOC2 and HITRUST E1 or I1? The first thing to consider is the needs of current or prospective clients and stakeholders. Are there contractual or regulatory obligations that need to be met? What level of assurance is required today? And will those requirements increase over time or likely stay the same? A SOC 2 that only includes security will have lower level of assurance than one that also includes additional trust services criteria. Similarly, HITRUST E1 and I1 assessments will have a lower level of assurance than the HITRUST R2 assessment, which also has a higher level of assurance than SOC 2. Next for consideration is the need for flexibility of controls. Does the organization have a need for flexibility in defining controls, or is there some benefit in leveraging the well-defined control requirements of HITRUST assessments? Finally, consideration should be made for time and budget requirements. The length of engagements of these assessments are similar. However, gathering evidence for HITRUST I1 may take more time due to the granularity of the control requirements. From a budget perspective, SOC 2 is typically easier on the budget, as the fees are limited to the assessor firm, while HITRUST assessments require fees to HITRUST as well. Ultimately, the decision of which framework to choose depends on the specific needs and requirements of your organization and its stakeholders. It's best to consult with a qualified security or compliance expert to help you make an informed decision. This concludes our presentation on choosing between SOC 2 and HITRUST E1 or I1. We'd be happy to assist you in evaluating whether SOC 2 or HITRUST is right for your organization. Feel free to reach out to me or one of our IT assurance shareholders, Robin Barton or Drew Hendrickson, with any questions you may have. You can also reach us through our website at lbmc.com. Thank you.